Okay, you hear me now? Okay, great. I feel like a Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now? Okay. Well, thanks for joining our session on cross-media measurement challenges. I have two great panelists who are going to be following me. So I'm going to talk briefly, maybe no more than 10 minutes, and then turn it over to Howard Schimmel, who's the Chief Research Officer at Turner, and then Rex Briggs, who is creator of many new things in the whole cross-media measurement valuation space. So my topic is stop marketing like it's 1990, and let's talk about the cross-media measurement challenge. So I found this ad from Radio Shack in 1990, and this was pretty advanced stuff. I mean, you know, you could get cordless phones and a computer, and you had those big, recorders, video recorders. Oh, there's an answering machine. So that, Radio Shack had a lot of cool stuff, right, that they were offering in 1990. If you analyze it, virtually everything that's in that ad is now contained in this one device called a smartphone, which we all probably have, and we all probably keep by our bedsides and check our email before we wake up. So the thing that's really important to understand from a brand marketing point of view is changing media is the sea change. I hope you don't mind the pun with the word sea, but it is, because media has always been the way that marketers have connected their brand ideas to consumers. So if the fundamental way in which we consume media, if our media behaviors have fundamentally changed, then our concepts of how we build brands must change as well. So in a digital age, or what I call digital social mobile, or DSM for short, in a DSM world, everything is changing. All right, so let's forget that, that we can hang on to the old toolkit. And, so what was marketing like in 1990? Well, in 1990, when we thought about the 800-pound gorilla, that was TV commercials. Today, we don't really think about TV commercials, or we shouldn't. We should be thinking about video anywhere. Our video messages that convey what our brand meaning is about. Really, you need to be able to plan across platforms, because so much media is consumed not just on TV, but also on other devices. We used to think of media planning in a top-down way. So, okay, I want to build reach. So you start with TV very often, because it's so easy to build large reach in a TV plan, and then you kind of work from there, and then maybe you piece in a little bit of other stuff. And today, increasingly, marketers are spending their money in a bottoms-up way. What they're doing is they're using programmatic, they're using other kinds of advanced ad targeting methods, and then they're building up through accumulating impressions against different users. They're building up to the kind of reach that they want. So it's no longer a TV-first world. In 1990, we were still using fairly crude targeting methods. Demos, we want to deliver against women 18 to 49. Increasingly, the math men are taking over, and now the targeting rules are becoming much more complicated, much more precise, based upon what we know about people from their digital behaviors and the profiles that get created. We knew how many people watched Cheers, which was the #1 show in 1990. It was very easy. You go to the Nielsen data, the answer was right there. How many of you watched Breaking Bad? A lot of you, right? Okay, how many of you watched any Breaking Bad episodes on Netflix? Like the same number of hands. Okay, so we no longer know how many people watch Breaking Bad based upon the traditional measurement infrastructure, because we don't really measure Netflix. We can't get inside their walls. We don't do a very good job of measuring delayed viewing. We don't do a very good job of measuring on-demand viewing. So all these different ways of watching a show like Breaking Bad, which is just an example, I could have said Game of Thrones, I could have said anything, right? We just don't know using the old tools. And today, marketers are focused on content marketing, native advertising, geofencing. I worked with the Association of National Advertisers. I could tell you, marketers don't even know how to measure this stuff. And in 1990, we weren't thinking about these things, you know. So now, one thing I should say is, some of you who are marketers in the room, you should think about which column is closer to the way you are actually operating today. And I bet honestly, for many marketers, they're still closer to the 1990 column. And so we really need to evolve. And you know, in 1990, the summary of this is we were focused on the channel. We got to measure TV, we have to measure print, we have to measure, you know, trade promotion. And today we need to move our focus to the consumer, because that's the place where it all comes together, is the user really being in the driver's seat and controlling behaviors. So where's the consumer? When you focus on the channel, you're thinking Nielsen ratings, you're thinking reach and frequency on TV, you're not too worried about the other platforms. You're thinking about marketing mix models where dollar spending goes into the model. And so, you know, dollars behind TV, dollars behind trade. So literally, the consumer is not in the marketing mix model equation, right? So the consumer's not there. So if we believe we have to look at the consumer, we have to think about reach and frequency across channels. We have to think about the probability of a successful outcome from serving an impression to a user. So it's an individual user opportunity and an individual user outcome. So there really are two big cross-media measurement challenges, which is why I've asked both Howard and Rex to participate. Howard really lives in the world of how do we measure what people are exposed to anytime, anywhere, across device. If the typical rating systems is breaking down in the way people now consume media, he is very vested in trying to find a way to fix that. How do we measure the impact of exposure? You know, one thing like cross-media, cross-screen advertising is still evolving, and we don't link screens together very well even yet. So it looks like, because people mostly still buy on their computers, it looks like the ad impression delivered on the smartphone had no impact, and the purchase that occurred on the computer fell from the sky. When in reality, it was probably the same person doing stuff on their smartphone, searching, seeing ads, and then being influenced to make the purchase that they chose to make on their computer. Totally their latitude. So we need to move to understand the impact of an exposure in a consumer-centered way. We need to move from descriptive analytics to predictive analytics. In fact, I just blogged about that this morning because I just couldn't fit everything in that I wanted to say about this topic in 10 minutes. So I urge you to take a look at my blog. And we need to move money around in flight. Understanding what worked retrospectively is actually only good a little bit. We need to know what's working while we're in the campaign so we can move money around from low-yielding ways of spending our money to the higher-yielding ones. And so Rex will be talking about that. But a couple of points I want to make, and I want to throw out something that might be a little bit contentious, but I believe if your consumer research, segmentation research, whatever, if your consumer research does not generate insights that improve the marketing equation, and I mean that literally, there's an equation that determines how much you're going to bid for an impression, you know, whether or not you're interested in a certain digital buy, a certain website, any media. There are equations that are now predicting what the likely result is of that. If your research does not improve that predicting equation, and it doesn't do it at scale, meaning 100 million, 150 million people, you are falling short. Secondly, to achieve this, you will need to integrate media and digital insights into your consumer research. No longer can you just do a survey. You need to work with panel providers who have forged deals with Axiom or Exalate or Facebook in ways where you can now bring in powerful profiling variables that you can then act on. and then verify that you have improved the predictive equation. If you do a segmentation study and it's literally a variable that you can put in the equation and it doesn't improve the logistic regression prediction of outcome, then your segmentation study has failed. You might think it was really insightful, but you have failed. So think about the fact that marketing research and marketing are in a constant state of reinvention, really circling around the continual change of media behaviors. 3 pieces of advice for marketing research. I'd like you to put the consumer in the equation. Don't just think spending numbers. I'd like you to improve the equation, improve the predictive value, get greater yield for the money you're spending, and execute at scale by integrating digital and social data with survey results wherever possible.